Are you really? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 29th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. If I'd like to start with a pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America, to the republic to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Just to have my standard announcements here, the emergency exits to your left and to your right. The restrooms are out the back to the left. Please be sure to sign the attendance sheet at the back on the table in the meeting room if you are a developer and are presenting, even if you're a developer and presenting an application. There are business cards back there with contact information for staff at the planning department. And also on the back table is a copy of the resolutions, our copies of the resolutions that will be read tonight along with the agenda. Please silence or turn off your cell phones, and please take all conversations you may have amongst yourselves out into the hallway and back, and close the doors so you don't disrupt those who are speaking on behalf of an applicant or the board. So, welcome everyone. No meeting minutes, right? Okay. We've received several pieces of correspondence. Dave Anderson regarding the TNT fireworks application, Debbie Russell regarding the Bluestone Trail, Mary Shea regarding Bluestone Trail, Diane Brown with Bluestone Trail, and Sandeep Soin, sorry if I mispronounced that, Howling Hill subdivision. And Alexis Ogre's here from the town board. If you'd like to give us a report.
Sorry, I've moved seats. You give me so many papers.
You're just going to make me look around different parts of the room every time you come. So.
I know. I just need a little room to spread out. You guys get the whole dais up there. And
Sure.
to Keith, I was passing him papers. It wasn't
No worries.
good. We had our town board meeting last night, relatively short meeting, just a couple of approvals for things for Parks and Recreation, as well as a sewer extension. We, on this past Monday, had the Memorial Day Parade. It was a very, very rainy day, but we were happy that we were still able to have it, because a lot of our neighboring municipalities unfortunately had to cancel theirs. So we had the parade with a great showing, and then we ended up moving the Memorial Day ceremony into this room, and we're able to honor those who had fallen that way. Let me see. I have a short email here from the supervisor regarding the Bluestone Trail project that's on the agenda tonight. He wanted to let everyone know that the town's, give you a little status update on the town's sanitary sewer program that's associated with the village. You know, at the last meeting, he mentioned that right now that agreement has expired, but they're still going back and forth on it. He said, he understands that the board tonight will be evaluating the project under secret process in the next coming weeks, and that he's committed to facilitating the project site connection to the public sewer system as evidenced by the town board's approval to the zoning map for the PDD back in December of 2023, and that he's committed to demonstrating by doing upcoming meetings together with town staff, our town attorney, our town engineer, and himself over the next couple weeks with the village for an intermunicipal agreement, in hopes that the project will be able to hook into the village sewer system there. Other than that, I don't have any other updates. I know that Lisa sent out about the meeting for possibly becoming Tuesday. If it does become Tuesday, I will not be here, and I will hopefully have another member of the town board here. If it is still Wednesday, I'll be here. An update on voting. We will have early voting here in Town Hall for the 10 days leading up to primary election day. Victor residents do not have a primary election, though. So regardless of what party you're registered in, there is no primary. There will be early voting here, though. So It is not for Victor residents. It is for anyone who lives in Ontario County who does have a primary. It's very confusing, and it was a bit of an unfortunate situation, but the state law requires that the municipality with the highest population has an early voting site, and that is the town of Victor. So even though we don't technically have a primary here, the rest of the county does, outside of the town of Victor and a small portion of East Bloomfield. So there will be early voting here. If you see the machines here, they're unfortunately not for us unless you don't live in Victor, which I believe everyone here on our planning board does, or hopefully does. Other than that, if anybody has any questions, happy to answer them.
The letter that you just referred to from Jack Marin, the supervisor,
Did you guys
is,
get
you have copies of
Oh,
in front of you, so thanks for that. And we'll talk later about the meeting, second meeting you're referring to in June. I will not be here for that meeting, but I guess regarding what's the pleasure of the board for that date, we can discuss that at the end. So that's it.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Alexis. Appreciate it. Keith.
Good evening, Keith Maynard, Project Manager for the Town of Victor. So your next planning board meeting is Tuesday, June 11th at 7 p.m. On the agenda right now for that meeting is the Wilkins RV Minor Subdivision, which is 7447 State Route 96. The applicant is requesting approval to subdivide the 24.2 acre parcel into 2 lots. Lot 1 will consist of 3.4 acres and the existing one-story metal building that has the old Wilkins RV showroom, and then Lot 2 would consist of 20.7 acres and the rear one-story metal building. And then the second application on the agenda is Lehigh Crossing Lot 9, which you've seen before and approved, but I think it was in 2019, but they expired, the approvals. And so the applicant is requesting approval to construct a 33,600 square foot flex space building to accommodate office, manufacturing, warehouse space for multiple tenants. And this is at 7901 Lehigh Crossing, plus any carryovers for tonight. Anybody have any questions?
Good. Thanks,
Okay,
Keith.
thank you.
That. Town historian.
Thank you. I just want to introduce you to the newest member of our Historic Advisory Committee, Karen Spotton. And Karen will be coming to planning board meetings when necessary, hopefully not a lot. And she will be here sometimes, and Ann Aldrich will be here sometimes, and I will as well. So we're going to keep everything.
Spread the duties around.
That's right.
That's good.
Thanks.
Welcome. Okay, we have quite a few items on the agenda tonight, none of which are being removed, as we've done with some in the past. 7 items. First item tonight is a public hearing for Berdulis Shed, 7710 Lower Fishers Road, owner Daryl Berdulis. The applicant's requesting approval to construct a 10 by 20 foot vinyl sided storage shed on the back part of his parcel. The property is located in the limited development district. Berdulis, I hope you got your name pronounced
You did
correct.
perfect, thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you for hearing us. I'm Daryl, this is my wife Deb, and we're looking for approval on a basic shed that is built by Heritage Structures. So it's professionally made, and it'll be on a concrete pad, or not concrete, excuse me, crushed stone pad done professionally by the company. It's all for storage of lawn equipment and other paraphernalia needed to keep track of 4.3 acres where we are. Other than that, it's solid construction and within the scope of the property lines and everything.
Sure, so it's appropriate offset, setbacks, from the rear lot line. So I'm looking at my laptop here with your site plan, so.
That's the design of the shed right there.
So you're here because you're in planned development district, or a,
Don't ask me
sorry.
why tonight. My wife and I were eating
Limited
tonight,
Development District.
eating dinner, and a coyote came walking across the back lot. Now, that same coyote, we've seen a number of times. This afternoon, when I was cutting grass, I saw at least 3 pups. There may have been a 4th because they were in the tree line. We're in a very unique area with deer and everything else. We've got the only retention pond in the town for water spillage and everything coming from the hills. It's a unique piece of property across from cornfields.
Sure. It's beautiful out there. We need to give the public an opportunity to comment. If you have any neighbors that are here that wish to approach the board or ask questions about the application, the floor is open. All right, board members. Joe, any questions?
No, I think the pictures of the shed looked great, and frankly, I don't recall seeing so many pictures of the site showing the location of the trees and the shed relative to the trees. So it
You were very thorough.
it tells a story and it helps make a decision, so I appreciate that.
Okay. Al?
Thank you.
Echo all of Joe's comments. I'm good.
Ernie?
All it's going to be?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Pat?
I have no comments.
Okay, as do I. A public hearing is open. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing, seeing no.
I'll move.
Al moves. Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. Public hearing is closed. Unless you care to say anything else, I think we're
Thank you very
comfortable with
much.
it. Thank you. I have a resolution that I will read. We can take action on. So, application 12 SP 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 6 of them. I didn't give Wes a chance to comment, but I assumed that you didn't have any, I think. We're good. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on May 29th, 2024, and identified no significant impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the project Berdulis Shed will not have a significant impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Daryl Berdulis, site plan entitled Berdulis Shed, be approved with the following conditions. Condition 1 is standard to be addressed prior to chairman's signature, and ongoing conditions that the site plan comply with the Town of Victor design and construction standards for land development, and the building permit be obtained before the start of construction, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
I heard Joe move. Ernie, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
See you,
Thanks,
Lisa.
Lisa.
Thank you very much for how thorough you were with your application, by the way. It was great. Item 2, 92 Fishers Road Site Plan. The public hearing was closed on this. The applicant's requesting approval for land clearing and grading that has already been done on the existing residential property. Ben, good evening.
I think the only thing I'll add is we did address the board's comments from the May 14th meeting. We submitted revised plans on May 15th. I haven't heard any negative comments since then, so that's all I have to offer.
Okay. We have a site plan, okay. So any questions from the board? Joe, I'll start with you.
I see that the landscape consultant has spelled out some tree recommendations. Are those going to be included in the,
Those recommendations were for the adjacent property, the neighboring property, which is, all that work has been removed from the site plan. We just restricted what we've shown on the site plan for the work at 92 Fisher Road.
thank you.
Al?
No questions.
Okay. Ernie
No, we've been over this many times. I have no questions, no further questions.
and Scott.
I just It sounds like the neighbors are cooperating with one another and the project's moving forward then? Is that correct?
I'm not sure. I'll be
This is-
honest with you, I really
This-
don't
The
know.
reason that it's been done this way is because this is what the town is responsible for overseeing.
Okay.
And that's, any other issues between neighbors is between neighbors, so we'll leave it at that.
And I have no comment.
Wes, any comments? How are they doing?
Just to sum up, the revised site plan meets the expectations that we discussed at the last planning board meeting, given the directive and suggestion of the town attorney. It reflects only the improvements that are proposed on this specific parcel and has no indication of any work that would be happening on any adjoining parcel. So we, as town engineer, we're satisfied. We are in the process of updating our comment letter, and we can provide that, but we have no issues with the planning board moving forward with a draft resolution tonight.
All right, thank you. Unless you have anything else you'd like to
I-
offer, Glenn?
no, I'd be foolish to say anything else.
Just opening up for you, that's all. I do have a resolution that we can take action on this evening, I believe. So, having said that, for application 5 SP 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 8 of them. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on May 29th, 2024, and identified no significant impacts, now therefore be it resolved that project 92 Fisher Road site plan will not have a significant impact on the environment and that a negative declaration be prepared, and be it further resolved that the application of Leha Wilton, I don't know if I said that right,
Elijah,
I'm sorry?
Elijah.
Elijah, thank you. And 1 for 2. Site plan entitled 92 Fishers Road, site plan drawn by Thornton Engineering, dated April 2024, received by the Planning Board April 9th, 2024, last revised May 15th, 2024. Planning Board Application 5 SP 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to Chairman's signature on the plan. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that the comments in a letter dated April 19th, 2024 from Labella Associates be addressed. Number 3, that comments in a letter dated May 28th from Landscape Consultant be addressed. Ongoing conditions. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that any future site modifications that incorporate retaining walls and/or boulder walls to be referred to the town engineer for geotechnical and engineering review. Number 3, all erosion and sediment control best management practices shall be maintained until the project is complete and stabilized to protect neighboring properties and watercourses. Number 4, that an as-built record plan be provided indicating permanent practices installed and recording the topography of modified areas. And number 5, that the design professional be required to certify the completeness of the selected design when construction is finished, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. On this resolution, do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll move.
Ernie moves.
Second.
Pat seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience, Glenn. Number 3, minor subdivision. This is a closed meeting. The public hearing was closed. Howling Hills Minor Subdivision, 127 Blazy Road, owner of Osler Spousal Lifetime Access Trust. Application 2 MS 2024. Applicant is requesting approval to subdivide 57.614 acres into a 3-lot subdivision. Lot 1 will encompass the existing single-family home on 11.411 acres. Lot 2 will propose new single-family home on 10.134 acres, and Lot 3 will remain undeveloped with the remaining 36.068 acres. We've seen this a couple of times, I think, and we've given you charge to look at the hydraulics, I think, from last meeting, so good evening.
Good evening, Greg McMahon from McMahon LaRue. Yes, at the last meeting, I think it boiled down to providing some additional information on the preliminary floodplain on this portion on this property. We took a look at, we provided some upstream, downstream culvert calculations, the existing culvert that we're going to utilize with the driveway. As a result, we've proposed to add 2 additional 36-inch HDPE culverts as shown on the revised plan. We also did calculations for the rise in the floodplain based on the fill being placed. That rise amounted to about 5/8 of an inch, about 5/8 of an inch, far below anything that would trip any FEMA concerns. And we've matched the capacity of the upstream culvert being the culvert under Blasey Road, within about 15 CFS, which in our opinion is within a margin of error based on typical hydraulic calculations.
So I appreciate your going through this. I think it's important for this site. And my question is regarding the twin pipes. You've set them at approximately 3 feet higher than what the existing culvert invert is.
Yes.
You've also displaced them quite a bit to the east, out of the area where the creek flow is.
Right.
Can you explain that, please?
Yeah, the intent would be, I mean, if we've assumed a 100-year floodplain elevation of 509.
Okay.
509? Yes, 509. We've set these at 507. So their intent is not to increase the flow of the creek, we'll let the creek run, but if the floodplain, if it does come up, we have a 100-year flood, it comes up to that elevation of 507. It's providing relief, additional relief, so that we're not, in effect, and I think the concern was creating a dam across the floodplain. So it's, similar to an overflow on a dam. This would be a guided overflow if the floodplain does approach that 509 elevation. If anything below that 507, it would continue to flow in the normal channel, which I think is a preferred way to do it. We're not looking to widen the channel or
So you're saying that the water would be increasing as in the backwater on the upstream side, enough to then make it through as a relief, these two pipes. What's the water elevation downstream of the driveway or dam? Is it lower than the outlet pipes once in that flood condition?
Well, it would be, I mean, in essence, the downstream culvert, if you look at the culvert, the downstream culvert has a capacity of 450 CFS, about 150 CFS more than the Blasey Road culvert and the driveway culvert. So, again, we have no idea down, as you go north into Monroe County, what culverts there are. I'm sure there are many culverts, and I'm sure because there's a floodplain here, there's some culverts with far less capacity than 450 CFS. But it would continue at least the downstream capacity is such that it would continue through that culvert. We're not backing up. So again, if it reaches the 507 plus on the south side of those CMP culverts, it's going to be equal to 507 on the other side. It's not going to be higher than 507, and chances are it's going to be lower.
So you're saying it's balanced as it flows through, even though the culvert downstream north in Monroe County is much higher capacity and wouldn't necessarily be backing up water that way?
That's not going to back up, at least, based on our look at this, it's not going to back water up. Again, as that floodplain, there is an actual floodplain in Monroe County as that proceeds north. I don't, how many culverts there are as you go north.
Yeah, I mean, we're not asking you to ferret out the whole flood.
No, we looked at the
Floodplain.
upstream and the downstream, which,
Sure.
we felt confident that this would address any concerns. We're not going to We don't see that we're going to increase the floodplain depth, or there's not going to be any flooding of Blasey Road or anything that would even potentially approach the existing house on our proposed Lot 1.
Wes, has, any comments from Lobella's perspective on this?
Thanks, Joe. We did evaluate the submission by the design engineer, right? We see the culverts and the cubic feet per second for each of the, for the upstream culvert, the existing driveway culvert. I do have a question on the existing driveway culvert calculations. So on the sheet that you provided to us, it indicates there's a 52 by 60 inch corrugated metal pipe. But I think that the plan shows a 38 inch by 60 rather than 52. Is that just a typo in?
It may be a typo, because we went out and verified these, because we ended up, some of the measured dimensions, which were done by our survey crew, came back a little non-standard, and these are standard CMP culverts, so we had to go look back and verify what we found.
So the 165 cubic feet per second calculation, that's associated with a
52 by 60.
38 by 60?
I'm sorry.
52 by 60 is
Yep,
oddly
it's-
the same as the box
yes.
culvert in the
Right.
county. So, could be just a typo based on that.
Yeah, I can't read my small plan here, but,
So the town has a chapter for floodplain, a chapter in their town code for floodplains. Its applicability, however, is meant to be only for areas within a designated flood area. So its applicability really doesn't come into play here. It doesn't seem to be something that the town can enforce. However, for good measure, if the town wanted to request more information in terms of, providing, they've assumed, based on their observations out there, a base flood elevation of about 509 feet. If we want to ask for them to provide a more technical analysis for that base flood elevation, or more technical data to establish that 509, I think you could request that. And we could also, if you didn't feel comfortable moving forward, we could ask them to provide headwater calculations for each of the driveway pipes to demonstrate the capacity in freeboard during a 100-year event.
What's the basis of the 509 assumption? Is that the existing driveway elevation?
well, what we looked at is that the elevation at the county line is 507. The 100-year floodplain elevation at that box culvert
Okay.
is 507.
So they do have an established 100-year
They have an
flood.
established elevation.
Okay.
We just looked at that, we looked at the elevation, there's very little elevation change across this property is flat. So it's probably, again, just based on judgment, it's probably somewhere between 507 and 508, an actual 100-year floodplain elevation. We assume 509 just to be a little more conservative with our calculations.
So that would be 2 feet into the two pipes that you're proposing. Which would still be lower than the driveway that you're proposing as well?
Yes.
You won't be going over the roadway with that?
No, the driveway elevation, the low point on the driveway is about 511, 512. So we wanted to maintain, worst case scenario, we wanted to maintain the driveway usable during a 100-year event.
Okay.
Otherwise, right, so as Mr. McMahon said, the upstream culvert capacity is 340 cubic feet per second, whereas the proposed conditions for the driveway would allow a flow of 325 cubic feet per second. So it appears to be slightly less, although he did talk about this margin of error and his conservativeness with his approach. I think generally we would like to see the the proposed conditions match what is upstream, the 340 cubic feet per second. He's about 15 cubic feet per second away from that. I don't know if an increase in pipe size would help do that. What's the next pipe size up?
42, I would think.
42?
Yeah.
42,
Yeah. And
Is smooth wall pipes, or are they corrugated?
no, smooth wall.
Okay,
And so we're using a little bit lower manning number on it, so.
Sure.
Yeah, HDPE.
yeah. Well, some are and some aren't. If you specify it as smooth wall, that's...
Smooth bore.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Sorry, Wes, something else?
No, that's fine. Yeah, so I don't know that we have a concrete answer in terms of, here's our recommendation to move forward. I think you have an option as a planning board to say, okay, what the applicant has provided is satisfactory. Or if you wanted to go above and beyond, to have him maybe provide a few more calculations or tweak the plan a little bit more to the satisfaction of Labella's certified floodplain manager, we can do that too.
Let me see how the board feels about, or have any kind of questions or comments. Scott, I'll start with you.
I think for 15 CFS, based on what I know of doing calculations, you quite often have that amount of error easily in your analysis. So I think it would be kind of a stretch to resize the pipes accordingly. Plus, you're using 3 pipes under the peak condition, right? You're using the 12-inch and these 2 new pipes.
It's actually a large elliptical, but
Yeah, it's a
the large,
38 by 50.
yeah, large elliptical and the 2 36-inch pipes.
12 inches under the
And then
driveway.
you've got roughly 2 or 3 feet of head with the elevation of the driveway that you spoke about, right? Sounds pretty conservative to me.
Okay. Ernie, questions, comments?
Not really, but I do have a question. I just noticed recently that there's a concrete walk that crosses the property line from north, and it goes east and then back.
There
north
is an
again.
easement. We looked into that. The owner had some concerns about that, and the file, you'll see on the filed subdivision, or on the proposed subdivision plat, we show the easement. That was put on this property, and there, apparently the previous owner, or a previous owner, granted them an easement for that
Okay.
infringement.
That's all I have, Joe.
Okay. Al?
I'm all set. Thanks.
Go.
I get a sense, this is kind of outside of my area of expertise, but I get a sense that there's a conservative approach to the engineering here, and I like that approach. So having said that, I have no problems with moving forward with
Okay.
this.
All right. Just noted that you've shown on here the unmarked family cemetery approximate location.
Yes.
It's at a reasonably high elevation. I'm not worried about the floodplain with that. So I assume that, Babette, have you had any conversations about that? You'd like to step up and fill us in any more about that?
I haven't had any concerns yet about flooding.
Yeah.
And I think we've come to an agreement with the owner that he will have the area metal detected to find the area of the cemetery, putting cornerstones on the corners, obviously, of the cemetery. Because it's in the middle of a field, he'd rather not have a marker put there, which is his prerogative, certainly. One other thing I think we also have agreed to is that a family member would like to come in the fall, perhaps, to look at the cemetery to see if there are any stones that are visible, available for information for family genealogical reasons.
Okay. Otherwise, you're,
Yeah. He's shaking his head yes.
okay. Anything else?
No?
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Babette. Yeah. Go ahead. Now, where is that? There is an email that was received.
Yeah, I've got an email here from the former, they've indicated they were the former property owner, Sandeep Soin. And they left a comment for the town that reads as follows. To whom it may concern, I am familiar with 127 Blazy Road, which is now of interest due to a new home, a proposed new home. I noticed there were some environmental concerns regarding the wetlands on the Victor public hearings. There were some issues with flooding of the creek near the existing home and the footbridge with clogging of the culvert at that level. This may be of interest given the potential plans to alter the culvert for a driveway further north of this location. I can attach some videos to show the degree of flooding that occurred in previous years. This was remedied with clearing of the culvert and restoration of the bridge. I'm not trying to obstruct any progress on either the town or the builders. I have no personal interest in the matter, but I feel obligated to share this information. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate his input. We were looking at the video earlier with flooding around a fence line. But I don't think the culvert he's talking about is the driveway that we're talking about.
It doesn't seem to be.
Is there, because there's another like a 12-inch culvert underneath the, more of a ditch culvert, I think, underneath the driveway, maybe by the road.
There's a wooden walk bridge closer to the existing house that
Okay.
was built over the creek. I'm assuming probably for, if they had horses to get them across.
Mhm.
But I think that's what he was referring to. As with any culvert, probably in a high flow, you get logs and sticks and
Right.
debris that build up and cut your channel flow.
Okay, so that would be a maintenance thing for the owner.
That's a maintenance
Okay,
thing.
all right, good, thank you. Okay, thanks, Wes, appreciate that. I think we've covered everything that I have in front of me with this application. Anybody else have anything? All right, having said that, we have solution here. Okay. So it's just going through a couple of formalities here. So for this Howling Hills minor subdivision, application 2MS 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact. There are 15 of them. Again, copies are in the back table if you're interested. Whereas the planning board reviewed the unlisted action on May 29th, 2024 and identified no significant impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the application of Vossler Spousal Lifetime Access Trust, minor subdivision entitled Howling Hills Minor Subdivision, drawn by McMahon LaRue Associates, dated March 12th, 2024, received by the Planning Board March 19th, 2024, last revised May 20th, 2024. Planning Board application 2MS 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions that must be met prior to the chairman signing the minor subdivision plan. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that before the planning board chairman signs the approval film originals, the developer should submit 2 copies, electronic files to the town. Number 3, this section 4, standard approval conditions for all subdivisions, major and minor, and the design and construction standards be met. Number 4, that comments in a letter dated April 18th, 2024 from Labella Associates be addressed. Number 5, comments from the code enforcement officer dated April 19th, 2024 be addressed. Number 6, that the comments from the town historian dated April 30th, 2024 be addressed. Number 7, that the comments from the fire marshal dated May 2nd, 2024 be addressed. Number 8, that a town of Victor highway permit be obtained. Number 9, a town of Victor building permit be obtained before start of construction. And items 10 and 11, we are striking based on the additional information and the approach taken on the plans that we have accepted with the culverts. And conditions that are ongoing, standard conditions that must be adhered to. Number 1 is standard. Number 2 is also standard. Number 3, that should any underground water conditions be encountered during construction, the developer is to address the encroachment and impact to the underground stream to the satisfaction of the town engineer. And number 4, that the applicant shall be aware that the approval of the subdivision does not mean that the Lot 3 is an approved building lot. Site plan approval is required prior to Lot 3 becoming a buildable lot and before a building permit can be issued. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So with those minor modifications, do I hear a motion of approval?
Move.
Al moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. Number 4, application, this is a public hearing, TNT fireworks tent. 220 Commerce Drive, Zone Commercial, owner Victor Square Retail LLC, applicants requesting approval for a temporary tent for sale of New York sparkling devices from June 20th through July 5th. Hours of operations to be from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. I think we've seen on this site before. Good evening.
Hi there. Yes, so we are looking basically to do the same thing as we have in the past. As noted by Mr. Anderson, the previous time we've closed was at 9 p.m., so I apologize for the error on the application for that. We are happy to close at 9 p.m. as we've previously done as well for that.
And you are adjacent to residential housing, so I
Yes,
think that's part of the requirement there. So I
absolutely.
just wanted to be clear that the community is sensitive to activities going on after hours.
Absolutely.
Any questions for the applicant?
No, we've seen this previously.
Okay.
None?
Same location, same practices last year, I think. Parking and all that, and access, which now you have additional out access from what's on that aerial. So I think that was open last year, right? That
So
access point.
Yeah, it was open, and I'm not sure, did my corporate send the revised site plan? Because the property owner has requested that we move back to the backside of the lot there, similar to where it says 30 by 40. She's asked us to move the tent there to keep it more clear from that entrance point.
She did send a tent location map or plan. It's not the aerial, but it's a site plan of the project, and it shows a rectangle in the last block, 90 degrees from what that is, and an arrow pushing it to the back corner, which is what you're describing, I think.
Yes, would you mind if I approach to show, or?
Can you bring it up? Wes will bring it up on for the
Oh, okay.
public. Yep, that's it. So Wes has got it on screen here, and so the tent before was along 96,
Correct.
and this shows in that parking area, but then an arrow pushed to the back is what
I
the
think
request
that-
was?
I think the arrow is where she's just pointing to where it says tent location, but she has asked for where that square is for where we are to be placed.
So it is a public hearing. I want to make sure that the residents, if they're here and are interested, will have a chance to comment. So
Absolutely.
is there anyone living near, adjacent to this location here that has a question? Being none, I'll entertain closing the public hearing. A motion?
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any questions for the applicant or on the position, location?
I have
Guys
a
okay with
question.
it? Scott?
Where was the tent located last year?
The tent was where that previous site map was. We were up next to the road. When we had come in and spoken, it was requested that we stay 2 parking spaces away from that driveway entrance, which we did, and that map would have reflected that. And then the property owner has requested that it's basically just towards the back side of the parking lot.
You can see it's got on.
Yeah, I'm just keenly aware of the neighbors that live over there and how sensitive they are to the location of this, even though it's a temporary use. And I think I'd have to go back through the records, but I think they've always wanted the tent as far away from the property line as possible, in which case the revised location, although satisfactory to the owner, I don't think that would be really taking into consideration the neighbors and all the input we've received from them over the years.
Where's the dumpster? Is this it right here? 'Cause I didn't know if it was going
I'm
to be in the
not
way.
sure
of-
on the newest one that I have, because I took a screenshot with the new entrance there.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't show a dumpster in that spot.
Wes, can you bring up the aerial of that? Suzie, can you give him the access again? I want to make sure we're all clear on
Absolutely.
what's next to it and how close houses.
And I'm
are.
happy to go back to the property owner and explain the situation of the concerns of the community,
Yeah.
you know, to request to be pushed
I mean,
back up towards
Scott's
the
correct. I mean, we have heard before,
Hmm.
keep it as far away from lot line as possible. 'Cause
I agree. I think having it up against the trees in the back there is going to be problematic for the neighbor.
which is why I want to have it brought up on screen, an aerial of that plaza, just to see how close we really are with that tent location. I don't know how much you can zoom in on that anymore, Wes, but it's like this right here is where they're
Right.
asking.
Correct. Yeah, so.
And
in
you're
that-
right, I mean, you're moving, let's see, 20, 40, 50, almost 80 feet closer to this house with that tent location.
Mhm.
So, yeah, measurement there, Wes.
Yeah, so that line between, right, this point and this property line is 90 feet. And it's actually, there's supposed to be 100 feet of vegetated buffer between the project and the property line. So that buffer does exist. I know in the past, there's been requests from residents to, maybe plant some trees where some have died, or clean up some of the trash that sometimes accumulates back here. But there is a 100-foot vegetated buffer between this property line and the parking lot.
Questions, Scott, or follow-up?
Well, I think that's true, and as I recall, when the project went in, that was one of the requirements to have exactly that, but I think you're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit if you put the tent right up next
mean,
to it.
If you take it that far, there is a building on the site, but it's not anywhere near these two residences, as you would be pushing a technical building here to that, even if it's only for a month or even a few weeks.
A week, maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if pushing it to this back corner would even make sense.
I'd
But,
rather not poke the bear.
yeah,
I mean, if it existed last year and it was okay,
yeah, I don't understand what the difference is between this location and the one it was last year. I mean, why couldn't it just be there? I mean, it's not disrupting the business there. I mean, this is vacant or under reconstruction at the moment, or for a new tenant. So how is that affecting it? I think I would honestly favor pushing back and saying, let's put it where it was. I think that's what the community is expecting.
and I don't think we received any complaints beyond just some
Yeah.
general comments last time regarding, I think, trees and trash.
Mhm.
But I think, I don't believe that any of the residents may be here tonight, but that doesn't mean that the concern doesn't
Right.
exist.
Sure. Okay. Ernie, any comments?
No.
No? Joe, Al?
No, I concur, leave it where it was last year.
Okay. I think we'll do that, push
Okay.
back and say, we'll approve it where it was. Same conditions, seem to function well there.
Okay,
Definitely keeps noise farther away from the houses, however little there might have been. But I think, yeah, so did the plan, we'll have to put a condition in here about leasing it where it was in 2023 in the conditions,
absolutely, and I'll go back to the property owner with that as well.
right? So I'm assuming that's not a big deal breaker. I understand there's a preference, but I think there's also we have to respect the residents that are there, that this is an extra thing beyond what, I'm sorry?
I'm on the findings. of that.
Findings?
Proposed use will not cause substantial injury.
As long as, given that it stays in the 2020 location or something.
Yeah, we can do that.
Or we can just approve what they originally submitted.
Looking for some wordsmithing here, I think.
If I may request that you do, if you require for the 2023, will you please put it in there that you are
Yeah.
requiring? That way, when I go
Yeah.
back to them.
That's exactly what
Yes.
I'm looking to wordsmith, so.
Thank you.
Yeah. So 9 AM to 9 PM, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank here. You marking up something there, Wes?
Yep, sorry.
I would say number 2, you could just add to the hours of operation, say, that the location of the tent shall be in the same location and configuration as on the 2023 approved plan. Unless you got another way to put it, Wes? Okay. All right. Mhm. 2023 approved plan, okay. All right, yep, okay. So if you guys are all set, I'm going to read this as modified. Thanks, Wes. You can have this when we're done. So for application 6SB 2024 and 3SU 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact. Site plan for special use and special use permit application was received on April 16th, 2024 from Tailored Tent Rentals, the applicant, by the Secretary of the Planning Board for site plan entitled TNT Fireworks Tent, the project. Number 2, it is the intent of the applicant to put up a 30 by 40 foot temporary tent and temporary container for sale of New York sparkling devices from June 20th to July 5th, 2024. Hours of operation will be from 9 AM to 9 PM. That's another reason to keep it farther away from the homes, is you've got storage of fireworks in a container, so I think we want to make sure it favors
Understand.
roadside as well.
And may I also, the tent size has changed.
Okay.
It should be 30 by 30.
30 by 30,
Yes.
okay.
30
Thank
by
you.
30?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's 10 feet smaller. Number 3, proposed temporary use of the property is permitted special use pursuant to Chapter 21122, Paragraph B of the Victor Town Code. Number 4, proposed use is designed and located to be operated such that public health, safety, and welfare and convenience are protected. Number 5, and this is modified by Wes from our conversation, the proposed use will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood, as the planning board will require the site plan to be the same as the 2023 approved plan. Number 6, proposed use conforms to all applicable regulations in the district which it is located. And there's 3 others, 7, 8, and 9. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board classifies the project as Type 2 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, regulations specifically pursuant to 617.5 paragraph C21, minor temporary uses of land having negligible or no permanent impact on the environment. Classification as Type 2 concludes the seeker process. Therefore, be it resolved that the application of American promotional events received by the planning board. Now, why is this different than the applicant, Tailored Rentals?
I think I just wrote
Did we close the public hearing?
Yes.
typo.
Arnie was asking, if we closed the public hearing. I think we did. So, the application received by the planning board, April 16th, 2024. Planning board site plan approval, 6 SB 2024, and special use application 3 SU 2024 be approved with the following conditions. One, that peddler solicitor's license be obtained from the town clerk prior to erecting the tent and sales. Number two, that if the peddler solicitor's license is suspended, the tent will be removed at the owner's expense within 10 days. Number three, that hours of operation from June 20th to July 5th, 2024 be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Number five, that the site plan approval will be rescinded within 10 days of the filing of a formal complaint to the code enforcement officer if said complaint is not resolved within that 10-day period. Number five, that in the event lighting is desired, it will need to be code compliant and possibly be required to be reviewed by the planning board. Number six, that any temporary signage be removed from the site entrance during non-business hours and shall not be placed within State Route 96 right-of-way per town code. And that, number seven, and that there be a limit of
Last year you had 2.
2 signs on the tent and shall be compliant with the town code. And be further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So, as modified, do I hear a motion for approval?
Move.
Ernie moves.
Second.
Matt seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you so much.
Amended. You're welcome. You want this one, Lisa? Thanks. You didn't get back what I gave you. Oh, it's deja vu all over again. Barely legal fireworks tent. Zone commercial, application 9SP 2024 and 4SU 2024. Eastview Mall Drive, owner Eastview Mall LLC. Applicant is requesting approval for a 30-foot by 45-foot temporary tent for sale of New York sparkling devices from June 16th to July 5th, 2024. Hours of operations to be from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And good evening.
Hi, my name is Jason Guck, and I'd just like to take note that the selling period would be June 20th to July 5th per New York State's law.
Thank you.
The tent would probably be erected on the 16th or 17th of June, and after July 5th be taken down a few days after that. So I am asking to permission to request to be open till 11, just because the restaurants there are open until 11 on the weekend, or at least 10 p.m., because they do, on the weekdays, they do close at 10 p.m.
Any questions from the board? Joe?
I think I'd like to discuss the hours of operation a little bit more.
Okay.
I think if the competitor up the street is closing at 9, fair's fair, and we should consider 9 p.m. across the board.
This is a different location altogether.
Yeah,
It's in the middle of the mall parking lot. It's totally different. So I don't have a problem.
that would be an exception that would not be inconsistent because it's, like Ernie said, it's in the middle of the mall. There are no residential homes right next to it, I think, and that's, on the previous
Okay, that
application,
makes
it's right
sense.
next to the.
I get it.
Yeah. So I could see going to 11 o'clock, no later, but anything else, Joe? Any questions?
10 on weeknights, 11 on weekends, is that?
I'm sufficient with that, and may I also, like Walmart is open till 11, they also sell sparkling devices as well. Not that it makes much precedence, but it is a competitor as well.
Yeah, and they are next to a development, but they're selling indoors in an existing building for, retail sales. So I would say it's probably not much you can compare with them. So understanding that there's competition, so.
Gotcha. With that said, if the way the 4th of July falls, the 3rd and 4th, I would like to request to be able to stay open till 11 on the 3rd and 4th at least, since that is a weekday.
Okay, we can talk about that. Al?
I would say I could support Wednesday being the day before the 3rd, but on the 4th, I think if you don't have your devices by 11 PM or 10 PM.
PM on the
Probably
4th.
too late to go out and
Yeah,
procure it, so.
Okay, I'm sufficient with that.
all right, Tuesday till 11, Monday. Or did you just ask for Tuesday and Wednesday? Were you saying Tuesday and Wednesday?
4th, I believe, falls on a Thursday. So it'd be, I would say if I could, Tuesday and Wednesday, 2nd and 3rd.
Would that make sense?
I'm okay with it. Again, it's a
Sure.
completely commercial mall
Right.
property.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Yeah, the only other question I had was there an intent to put any type of barriers around the tent, given that it is a large open parking lot and people can cut in all different directions, particularly as the parking lot empties out? I mean,
Yes.
Was there any plan to put barriers
Yep,
up?
so I plan to put traffic cones around the tent to maintain that. By code, it should be 10 foot. I plan to either meet or exceed that, so.
So to that question, so you're saying that this is 10 feet from the edge of the, into the face of the tent?
At most places, it's at or exceeding 10 feet.
Okay, and you'll have cones across this
I'll have
opening
cones all the
right
way
here?
across there and around the tent.
And just all the way around?
Yeah.
And this is your storage unit over here?
Yes, that's 20-foot storage container.
Okay,
Since it is a larger area, I may, they have these poles that go between cones, so it'll be a cone, a pole with reflective tape on it, and then another cone to support it, just to maintain that barrier so everyone's safe and compliant.
so kind of a low fence almost? with-
Pretty much, yeah.
Pat?
I agree with the hours discussion that you've already had. I was just curious, was this tent here last year, or is this
It
your
was
first time?
not, this is the first time I'll be in Victor. I have ran other tents, been doing this since I was 12. It's family business, so.
I don't have any more to add.
Okay, Ernie?
No, nothing else.
This is public hearing. Is there anyone from the public interested in commenting on this application? Now's the time? Or not? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
So
Second,
moved.
second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, so the public hearing's closed. Wes was reminding me that we do need to talk about signage. I know that there was one of the visuals, Susie, there you go. Typically, we have a restriction on the number of signs on a tent or
Okay.
other facility, and we restricted the last one to 2 signs.
Okay, that's not a problem.
You can keep that.
I'll have 2 signs. Is my bunting okay? Because that also helps maintain the barrier of the tent, keeps people, and establishes entrance and exit as well. So would 2 signs in my bunting? for
So
the tent?
this is
That's the bunting,
bunting
yeah.
here?
Yep,
So
I
that'd be
use that
like-
one on the outside, and then I use the brown one on the inside.
Yeah, inside's not
Okay.
an issue, I don't believe. So you're saying this would be all the way around the tent except where you
Correct.
have openings? Is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
Correct.
And then you'd have,
I'll have,
2 signs.
I'll have to discuss, and I'll pick 2 of those signs.
okay. Any questions other on the signage? Ernie?
Did Eastview Mall take a look at these signs? And
Yes, I have
Appro-
submitted them to them, and they had no issues.
okay.
Anything else? Scott? Okay. I think we're set. Anybody, if there's no other comments? I have a resolution that I will read. We'll have to see where the,
You're going to specify the hours then we talked about.
yeah, right. So, that'd be number 2. I'll read the resolution, and we're going to doctor it a little bit as we go here, based on our conversation, so. Resolution for barely legal fireworks tent, Eastview Mall Drive, application 9SP 2024 and 4SU 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact. Number 1, site plan and special use permit application was received April 29th, 2024 from Barely Legal Fireworks, the applicant, by the Secretary of the Planning Board for a site plan entitled Barely Legal Fireworks Tent, the project. Number 2, it is the intent of the applicant to put up a 30-foot by 40-foot temporary tent and a temporary container.
It's 45, Joe.
It's a 45.
Sorry?
45.
45, did I say 40?
You said 40.
Okay, 30-foot by 45-foot temporary tent and a temporary container. How big is your container?
20-foot.
20-foot container, okay. Lisa, you want to grab that? Okay. For sale of New York sparkling devices from June 20th
Yes.
to July 5th. Hours of operation during the weekdays will be 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Weekends, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., except for July 2nd and 3rd, which will be 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Right now on this one? Okay, go ahead.
So after the description of the hours, I might suggest that we also add, the site is not immediately adjacent to residences, which affords an opportunity for extended hours beyond 9 p.m.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for that clarification, Wes. The proposed temporary use of the property is permitted special use pursuant to Chapter 21122, Paragraph B of the Town of Victor Town Code. The proposed use is designed and located to be operated such that the public health, safety, and welfare and convenience are protected. Number 5, the proposed use will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood. Number 6, the proposed use conforms to all applicable regulations in the district in which it's located. Number 7, public hearing was duly called for and was published in the Daily Messenger, whereby all property owners within 500 feet of the project area were notified by U.S. mail. An under review sign was posted and on the subject parcel as required by town code. Number 8, planning board held a public hearing on May 29th, 2024, at which time the public was permitted to speak on the application. And number 9, the application was deemed to be an unlisted action pursuant to Section 8 of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act. Regulations and short environmental assessment form was prepared.
This one's unlisted. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, we have a correction. It's it's a type 2, not unlisted action, similar to the previous application.
I'll just take.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board classifies a project as type 2 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act regulations, specifically pursuant to 617.5, paragraph C21, minor temporary uses of land having negligible or no permanent impact on the environment. Classification as type 2 concludes the seeker A process. Now therefore be resolved that the application of barely legal fireworks received by the Planning Board April 29th, 2024, last revised May 14th, 2024, Planning Board Site Plan Application 9SP 2024, and Special Use Application 4 SU 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Number 1, comments from the Code Enforcement Officer dated May 17th be addressed. That peddler solicitor's license be obtained from the town clerk prior to erecting tent and sales. Number 3, that the peddler's solicitor's license is, if the peddler's solicitor's license is suspended, the tent will be removed at the owner's expense within 10 days. Number 4, that the hours of operation from June 20th through July 5th be 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. weekdays, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. weekend evenings, and July 2nd and 3rd, 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Do I need to add that other piece, or is that okay in the whereases? Yeah, okay. Or, I didn't see a thing on signs, but, oh, it is on the number 8. Color's your tent? White?
White.
White tent?
Yes.
Okay.
Not striped.
Yeah, okay. Good question.
I'll double check with the tent company, but they're usually always white.
Okay. The hours. Number 5, that the site plan approval will be rescinded within 10 days if the filing of a formal complaint to the code enforcement officer, if said complaint is not resolved within that 10-day period. Number 6, that in the event lighting is desired, it will need to be code compliant and possibly be required to be reviewed by the planning board. Just a side question on that. If he's going to go until 11 p.m., doesn't he need lighting? Or are we talking wired lighting?
Well, there will be lighting in the tent. In the tent layout that I have, it shows that there was lighting, and that's why I also have a generator. They are,
So these are internal lights only,
these are
correct?
internal lights, so I'll have luminescent exit signs, and I use lights like these, and they have
Okay, so-
non-glass LED bulbs.
Okay, so these are light strings within the
Yep,
tent?
they get
and-
strung through the middle between the poles.
Okay. All right, so nothing outdoors. At any, number 7, that any temporary signage be removed from the site entrance during non-business hours and shall not be placed within the State Route 96 right-of-way per town code. Now, that's a little odd because this is in the mall driveway. So I don't know if that's really applicable.
I think code just wanted to make sure there was nothing up.
Up on the street?
on the
Yeah,
street.
okay. So are you intending to do anything outside of your site plan with signage?
Not if it's not allowed. I don't perceive, some locations I use a super flag, but if that's not allowed, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, what this is saying is, please remove them after hours.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, close everything up, take your signs down, stow them until the next time you need them.
Okay.
So, okay. That there be a limit of 2 signs on the tent, plus, I'll add this, plus the bunting as discussed in the meeting around the perimeter of the tent inside and out. And shall be compliant with town code. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So with all that, do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll move.
Ernie moves, Scott seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, 2 more this evening. One, number 6, Victor Community Church Field. Owner is Victor Community Church, Zone Light Industrial, 7500 State Route 251. Applicants requesting approval for construction of a grass soccer field on the western portion of the parcel. It will include the clearing of vegetation, regrading, and seeding of the area. Good evening.
Hello, Steve Lamarco. I live at 7056 Dryer Road and am the pastor at Victor Community Church. You remember we were before you in the fall for that site plan approval. Thank you for the opportunity tonight. At that time in the fall, we had indicated that the western part of the property was to remain green space, and nothing's changed with that. That's still the intention. This spring, we had the opportunity to put some grass in where some just scrubby growth was. We laid out a 3/4 acre area to create that grassy area for casual recreation. We started leveling and removing some rocks to prepare for seeding, and then hay or straw coverage to promote growth of that grassy area. I was out of town at the beginning of the month, but I was contacted by Code Enforcement Officer Adam, and he indicated that there was concern regarding the creation of this grassy area. I immediately contacted, per Adam's request, our folks to stop working, and nothing has happened on the site since. In continued conversations with Adam over the next week or two, I thought that working with less than an acre of property to simply improve the green space was not an issue at all. So if I knew it was, we would have preemptively had this discussion, but we're, I guess, playing catch-up from that regard. But as requested, we've pursued this process, and we're here for the conversation tonight. I believe you have the site plan update. I don't know if we're calling it an update. I actually had asked Adam, is this simply a field change? We discussed that option, and so I'm not sure how you want to address it from that standpoint. Just a few notes from our more expert people than me, so I'm relaying some of these. The terrain that's at the site, and before we started doing any of that clearing, is not accurate to the county LiDAR because that's a little bit older and it showed some mounds in that area. There were no mounds there. The site sloping is to the east and to the north, and we're simply softening that slope and preserving the drainage patterns that exist to the north and the south. We're not changing any of that. There is an existing berm along the south or the roadside, and that's not being disturbed at all, and that'll be kept intact. And it's really just a surface contour to create that safe play area. So I'm happy to try and answer questions or clarifications, whatever I can do to help understand what we're doing.
Okay, thank you. Wes, I don't know if you want to give your perspective on what
Sure.
you've reviewed.
I can jump in here, I'd be happy to. Labella did review the site plan, thanks for sending that site plan to us for review. We don't have any comments, technical comments that need to be addressed with the site plan. Everything looks very good. We did note, right, as part of the Town of Victor Town Code, Section 21131, Site Plan Review, Paragraph H, 1, clearing, grading, and filling of premises. No clearing, grading, and filling activities shall henceforth be commenced on lands within the Town of Victor outside of the Village of Victor, except with site plan approval under this chapter. All clearing, grading, and filling activities shall obtain approval as part of the site plan application process. So I think that's kind of the initial trigger there that requires the applicant to come before the planning board.
And if I can jump in,
Yes.
we saw that reflected in code enforcement officer's letter regarding this and
Right.
acknowledge that.
Yep. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, so there's just some parameters underneath that particular paragraph that have to do with the clearing, grading, and filling, whether you're less than an acre or more than an acre. So, but everything looks fine. Labella doesn't have any concerns with the project, the site plan.
So the regrading and things and the drainage way and what looks like is this a retention pond or a?
Berm?
Yeah, the berm, well, okay, so that's a high spot, sorry. I was thinking it was a depression because it says protect existing drainage and I think it's going to that, but it's really higher, not lower. All right, never mind.
Okay.
Talking about the drainage inlet on the south side?
Yeah, on the south side, it's the berm you referred to, but there's a note says protect existing drainage inlet, which I was thinking was more of an inlet for a retention pond or some sort of drainage swale. But the drainage looks like it's parallel going north-south. to
Correct.
the Soccer field, correct? So. Questions from the board? Start with Ernie. Anything?
Are you anticipating any lighting on this?
No.
The stockpile that's shown on the map, is that going to be removed when you're done, or?
That's the stockpile of the topsoil, which would be redistributed to create the level play area.
Okay, that's all I have, Joe.
Yeah, okay. Scott?
Right now, you just stopped work until the site plan process completes, is that?
Yeah,
pretty
so
much where we are?
I was in Atlanta. Adam called me and said, hey, we have an issue. Can you have the guys hold up? So I got off the phone with Adam, called the guys on site and said, stop until we figure out what we need to do, and that's where we are.
Okay,
I don't have any comments, I think it's reasonable.
yeah. Yeah,
No concerns.
Joe?
I have just a couple. Up in the upper left-hand corner of the plan, it shows a property line, and then it says 10-foot parking, and then side rear setback, right next to the proposed stockpile location.
See what you're talking about?
There's a parking lot there?
No, I think I'll let Brian White, who's developed that.
Yeah, Brian White, Hunt Engineers. That is just, we've got that around the entire property. That's just showing what those setbacks are, just for a site plan.
Oh, the parking note threw me.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's just, we've got that consistent throughout the whole property. Even if you see, down in front of the building,
Just people that will access this area will be using the church parking lot?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And It's called a soccer field here in your narrative. You just mentioned sort of a recreation area.
Yes, and if you look at the actual application, it's referred to some places in soccer and other places as a grassy field. I think there was just a interchange of terms. Our intention is that it's simply an open, grassy, level, safe, there's not places where kids
Sure.
are going to fall and whack their head on a rock or anything like that.
And it's for the use of the parishioners. It won't be like for the local soccer clubs or whatever.
We are very open to community use, so if a family wanted to have a picnic, or, if a youth team said, hey, could we come out and do something on the field, I wouldn't be opposed to that, so it's not strictly for us, we're part of this community, and
Sure.
so our resources are available to the community as appropriate as well.
But at this point, you're not intending to line the field and set up goals and things like that?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, this is a open public hearing. If there's anyone from the community that's interested in addressing the board or the applicant or this application, now's the time. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Joe moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Keith, did you want to address this at all? Are you all set from code enforcement perspective?
No, we really appreciate the fact that they listened to Adam and, stopped work when appropriate. There's a lot of people that certainly don't do that when we ask that, so we
That's a
certainly
shame.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Keith. Okay. I don't think we have any other issues, comments, questions from the board. Public is done, so we do have a resolution and we can advance forward with this application. So, for the Victor Community Church Field, application 11 SP 2024, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 7 of them. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on May 29th, 2024, and identified no significant impacts, now therefore be it resolved that the project, Victor Community Church Field, will not have a significant impact on the environment, and a negative declaration be prepared, and be it further resolved that the application of Victor Community Church, site plan entitled Victor Community Church Field, drawn by Hunt Engineers, dated September 19th, 2023, received by the Planning Board May 14th, 2024, last revised May 13th, 2024. Planning Board application number 11 SP 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to the chairman's signature on the plans. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that comments in a letter dated May 29th, 2024 from LaBella Associates.
We were gonna have.
Did you have?
No comments.
Oh, so there are no comments. So number 2 is out. Ongoing conditions, both of them are standard, and be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's approval letter. So with that resolution, do I hear a motion for
I'll
approval?
move.
Al moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. So,
Can I ask a clarifying question?
of course.
At what point can I tell the guys to fire up the machine again?
I will talk to Adam and Keith tomorrow morning.
Okay.
And get right to you.
Sure,
I don't think
I don't
there's a
know that
building
they're-
permit required, but I'll just let Adam know.
sure. I don't know that they're sitting at home with the keys in hand, but it's helpful to plan ahead a little bit.
If you have questions, please see Lisa. I'm sure
Right.
she'll
Thank
be able
you.
to get them
Appreciate it.
answered.
We'll talk
So,
first thing in the morning and let you know.
Great, appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, thank you. Perfect.
Okay. Our last application this evening is an open public hearing as well. Bluestone Trail, formerly 7200 Rawson Road, for those familiar with it under that name. Application 1 PS 2024. Applicants requesting preliminary approval to develop a 59 for sale townhome unit subdivision on 18.5 acres. Project will consist of 2 private roads off the north side of Rawson Road. This will be the second step in a 3-step process for a major subdivision. The sketch plan was acknowledged complete April 9th, 2024, and our action this evening, other than to hear things that the applicant may bring forward, and anything the public may have to say is we're looking to be lead agency for this application. So, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Ryan Destro from BME Associates. Here with me tonight is Jim Barbado, representing the applicant, Rawson Community LLC. We are here for Bluestone Trail, which, as you mentioned, was formerly known as 7200 Rawson Road, and we are seeking preliminary subdivision approval. Just to recap, the subject property located at 7200 Rawson Road was rezoned on December 18th, 2023 by the town board from a limited industrial to planned development district, PDD. The town board, as part of the PDD rezoning process, approved the development for 59 for-sale residential townhome units on an 18.5 acre parcel. On April 9th, the planning board approved the sketch plan as a complete application. The preliminary plans are consistent with the site plan shown on the concept plan that was approved by the town board as part of the PDD rezoning process. There are approximately 13.6 acres or 74% open space provided. This is within the proposed HOA lands, which are located outside of the townhome lots. Access to the development will be provided via 2 private roads off the north side of Rawson Road. An internal pedestrian concrete sidewalk network is proposed to serve the development and to provide the public access to the Auburn Trail to the north and the existing Town of Victor sidewalk system, which is located along the south side of Rawson Road. Public utilities consisting of sanitary sewer and water main will serve the proposed residential development. For sanitary sewer and internal public gravity sanitary sewer system, will convey the sanitary flows to an on-site public pump station. As mentioned earlier, we are aware of ongoing conversations and discussions between the town and village regarding where the sewer flows will ultimately be directed from this project. With regards to water, as I mentioned, it will be served by public water via 2 connections to the existing Monroe County Water Authority public water main, which is located along the south side of Rawson Road. This development includes a private storm sewer system, which has been designed to collect and convey the runoff from the proposed development to an on-site stormwater management facility. This has been designed to meet the New York State DEC stormwater management design guidelines for both water quality and water quantity. Some additional site amenities include street trees, a landscape tree buffer between the proposed residential development and the existing light industrial building to the east. Lighting is also proposed at the intersections and the proposed mailbox cluster locations, and this is to enhance public safety. 14 off-street parking spaces are also proposed within this development. This project, as I mentioned at the last meeting, also creates a new lot which is to be dedicated to the town of Victor, in which the proposed pump station will be located. Within this lot, the applicant, through coordination with the Town of Victor Parks and Recreation Department, has also allocated for a future maintenance shed, which is to be designed and constructed by others. The intent of this maintenance shed will be to store the equipment utilized by the Victor Hiking Trails Association for maintenance of the adjacent Auburn Trail, as well as the overall town trail network. Federal and New York State DEC wetlands were delineated on site by BME Associates. On October 20th, 2023, the Army Corps of Engineers issued a preliminary jurisdictional determination letter approving the regulated wetland limits. And then on December 1st, 2023, the New York State DEC issued their jurisdictional determination letter approving the wetland limits. The regulated wetland limits and the associated state wetland 100-foot adjacent buffer are shown on the enclosed preliminary plans. The proposed development has been designed to avoid disturbance to both the regulated wetland areas as well as the 100-foot adjacent buffer. In addition, a proposed conservation easement area is also shown on the preliminary plans. This is to further protect the wetland limits and satisfy the New York State DEC water quality and runoff reduction requirements. We have received preliminary plan comments from the town department staff as well as the town engineer. On May 13th, we did provide a response letter addressing the town staff comments, and on May 28th, we did submit a response letter to Labella's comments as well. The Ontario County Planning Board also reviewed the preliminary plans at their April 10th meeting, and at that meeting, they did vote unanimously in favor of the project. This development does represent a seeker type 1 action. As such, we understand that the planning board has a draft of the resolution to declare their intent to be lead agency, as mentioned at the start of this meeting. We are looking forward to continuing the public hearing and starting the coordinated review process. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. I'll open up to the board. Joe, any questions to the applicant?
I'm looking at the town engineer's response to the Mrs. Senji's question about the pump station. And I note that 2, 4, 6, 8 neighborhoods have had pump stations in them. I'm not sure, though, if that addresses the concern over the odor from the pump station. Did we have any issues from the residents in these other subdivisions regarding smell that we're aware of? Is it a non-issue?
That's a good question. My understanding is that the town hasn't received any complaints about odors and smells related to the pump stations. With my limited knowledge of how that is controlled, I believe that the design of the pump stations includes measures to avoid those odors that
They're
that you
sealed
might
systems,
expect.
essentially, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's my understanding. So I'm not aware of any complaints. I could inquire even with the town of Farmington to see if they've received any complaints, but.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Yeah.
Keith if he had experience with that at all.
Keith Maynard, project manager. I'm also I forgot what my title is for that, sanitary sewer coordinator or something to that effect. So PS 30 specifically, the one that the resident referenced at Lehigh Crossing Park, has had problems with odor. Farmington's done several things. The one commercial business has given us some complaints about it in the past. So Farmington has been doing a couple different things. The chemical they add to help with the odor, they put brushes on the air vents coming out of it. But in my tenure here, we have not had complaints from any of the other stations about odor like we do with PS 30, which is the one that they mentioned.
And that's in a commercial district, correct?
Yeah, it's on,
Light
well, yeah, it's
industrial.
on 251. It's at the entrance to the park on
Yeah.
251. It's it's the last station from that whole bunch of stations before it gets sent down the new trunk line to the corner of McMahon in 96.
Okay.
And have the countermeasures been effective, to your knowledge?
Yeah, it's the last year or two, the people that were complaining have not been complaining, so.
So I had a question about the location as proposed on this application, and probably for the engineer more than
Okay.
you, but why is it near the Auburn Trail if we're looking to see it tie into the village sewer system, or is that not?
Well, it's twofold. The location is set because that is the lowest point of the property, so that's the place where it can easily be gravity fed. And then connecting to the village system, there's an existing manhole on the right in front of the existing light industrial building.
So down here somewhere.
Correct. So this proposal includes a force main from the pump station on site tying into the existing gravity manhole on the light industrial portion of this property.
Okay, so everything flows northwest, and then it comes and gets pumped southeast.
Correct.
Here,
Yep,
under this village tie-in plan, correct?
correct.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Joe?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Al?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Scott?
No.
No? Ernie?
I think we have a ways to go yet.
Yep, we do.
Questions that we go.
Okay. I will open it up to the public if there's anyone that wishes to address now or even in a future meeting, the public hearing will remain open. So if you have anything you'd like to bring forward to the applicant or to the board, name, address, and your question.
Good evening, Darrell Russell, 1162 Durham Court. My only question is, where does the water from the detention pond go to then?
For this, I assume there's groundwater absorption, and it maybe goes to the northwest?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, it flows into the wetland, I think.
Yeah, there's wetlands up here, so.
Just flow.
Yep. But it is good for groundwater recharge, I believe, too, in that scenario. So, if I'm not speaking out of turn with that, but anyone else? As I said, the public hearing will remain open for future meetings. I see Dave's anxious to come up.
I'll do my best. Dave Nankin from 1174 Chaucer Court, Drumlins 2. Back in the mid-'80s, I bought some property down by the lake in Canandaigua, and about 5 years later, the Morels started to build some single-family homes about 2 miles north of me. And I said to myself, who's going to come out this far south? You know, this is never going to work. Well, today it has probably its own zip code number. And I took a ride up there last year, and it's really very nice. And I noticed they started to build multiple family homes up there. And I thought they were really well done. I liked the way they were off-centered. I liked their colors. They were very subtle, and their shading. They had more property to deal with than you would over here at Bluestone. I liked their facade. They had horizontals, ubiquitous, horizontals and some verticals and some assimilated shakes that were all incorporated. I didn't see any here. I mean, this is going to be, I guess, a monochromatic. There's going to be a single color. It's kind of important the way this is put together because there's very little property here, There's very little room for trees. There's very little room for shrubbery. The only thing that's going to be of interest to anybody are the units themselves and how they're situated and how they look. And I just would like to know if there is more that can be done because I wasn't impressed with the pictures that were shown, to be honest with you.
Are you talking about the site on 5 and 20 in Middle Cheshire?
Middle
right?
Cheshire.
Yeah, right. Just by as 5 and 20 goes by, that whole.
Yes.
Yeah, and those are beautiful. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's not maybe for everybody, but if you're interested in that kind of living, they've done a beautiful job. Mm-hmm. And I don't think this comes up to that meets that same qualification as they have down there.
Well, perhaps Mr. Morel might like to address the architecture as a goal or a plan here, other than...
I'm going to finish, if I may. I have a few things. I'm sorry. I'm going to... You have to excuse me. I know you know this already. You all know this. I live across the street from a very clever man right now. And we bought the house at pretty much at the same time. And this gentleman has a family member living with him now. And the family member has a bedroom, and that bedroom shares a wall with a garage. And to keep, from disturbing this person, this gentleman took out the garage door opener. He took out the rollers from the track. He replaced the garage door opener with a belt drive instead of the clickety-clacketing chain drive. And he put in, the rollers were nylon with ball bearings. He greased them. He tightened things up. I can stand at my driveway, and I can barely hear that garage door going up. Now, with so many rooms above garages, and bedrooms upstairs, and bedrooms and rooms connecting, a common wall with a garage. It would be a nice thing for the people to have a belt drive and to set things up like that. I mean, a garage, I can hear my neighbor's garage door go up, and if I'm in that front bedroom. And I can hear the garage doors going up down the street. And can you imagine 59 homes all pushed together, and the garage is going up, the garage door's going up, on a Saturday morning and such, and coming down? It would be just something nice to do for the people who come in here. And I was going to make a comment about the sewer, but I don't, since it's up in the air as to whether it's going to go to the village or elsewhere. I was wondering, until we know, can the public comments be left open until we know?
Public hearing is
Yeah.
remaining open through this process, yes.
Thank you very, very, very much, all of you.
You're welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
Comments? Thanks.
Jim Barbado from Pride Mark, we're partners with Morels, obviously. We're just showing one color in the elevations, but we do plan on having a color scheme where we have a variety as it goes to the community. So it does look monochromatic here just because the architect did them all in one color when he did them. And if you do look close, there are multiple treatments as far as the siding types, and you have some board and batten look and some shake look and some clapboard. So there is a lot to the elevations as you look closely at them.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
that project in Pittsford that Morel is going, they're all the same.
Same color?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a few projects going right now where I have a color scheme where we have a few different colors. We roll them to the community. It's worked quite well. We plan on doing that. We have one in Webster currently, another one in Fairport, and we've done that a lot.
I appreciate that at this stage you're showing sort of examples.
These are
Would
just
be
sample
great.
renderings. Obviously, we're early on. They're concept plans, but it's good to show the type of architecture. And what you see there is we have a mix of ranch and two-story floor plans. So that's an all-ranch building, and there's another one that as you flip through is ranches on the ends and 2 stories in the center, and then another one that's all 4 two-story buildings. So there's a couple different floor plans in there, and we're just showing you the combinations of what they could look like.
Yeah. Okay, I'd suggest as we go forward, maybe presenting a couple more images with different colors and things that.
We could throw you
what your intent
the
is, yeah.
color scheme, and it would be more
Yeah.
representative, sure.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Marcia Sangus again. Thank you for your patience. There are just a lot of things that I feel that we really haven't been told yet, and I was kind of hoping tonight we would get some more of those informations. For example, the more of the square footage amounts, and more about what the price point will be with these different things. I believe for sure they're going to have basements. That was what I had understood early on. I have some questions, and hopefully maybe they can share tonight regarding the fill. We haven't heard yet. Is there going to be more fill brought in? How much more will be brought in? What would the days and hours of that be? I had a concern regarding the fact that this property was turned down for the highway department expansion or new location because it was felt that the soil that had been brought in had to be removed and reworked. That was right in the description. And I didn't understand why you would have to do that for a highway department construction, but it hasn't been discussed at all for the fill that was already brought in. That was just another question. Hopefully, there's a lot of landscaping showing now between the townhomes and the warehouse. I know a number of folks who use the Auburn Trail are looking for some serious landscaping along the Auburn Trail that would be behind the townhomes. The backs of the townhomes at this point look into the Auburn Trail, but you would think they want a little bit of privacy. Hoping to hear that it's going to stay dark sky down there. The Drumlins too, they have no lights whatsoever in there. There aren't even lights at the corners of Chapel Hill and Rawson Road. there are no street lights there. I know that the mailboxes are different in the proposed development here. Perhaps people, particularly in the winter, would need lights to get their mail. Up in the Drumlins 1, I think they have traffic, or they have lights by their mailboxes. But Drumlins 2, they have their own mailboxes out front, and there are no lights. But so the dark sky is something we really have treasured in the Drumlins area. I wanted to share, too, I called Parenton to ask Parenton, after I'd gotten, Joe, the information from Victor as far as the 8 neighborhoods that we have here that have a separate pump station, to ask them what they do there. And I was, first of all, surprised that they said, oh, yes, we do that, and we have 28. However, when they were explaining it to me, they explained that the big tanks that you'll see, like over there by Lehigh Station, which, by the way, does still smell, because I have a real good friend, well, actually, she wrote, Debbie Russell, walks that all the time, and it has had odors in the last spring, the spring months. But I wanted to just pass out, Parenton has these 28 like community pump stations, and they explained to me initially that it was pretty much underground. And I said, well, that's different, because what we seem to have are the tanks above ground. And I asked if they could tell me, a location where I could go see these. So I did go there this morning, and to say that they're underground is a little bit of a misnomer. So I took some pictures, and I wanted to share with you, if I could just take a few more minutes.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. I can look later.
So what you're seeing there are kind of 2 views, kind of one head-on and then one kind of from the side. And the gentleman, actually, when I was there taking these pictures, the fellow from Parenton showed up. Perry showed up, and I said, are you following me? Or how did you happen to be here when I'm here? Anyhow, so he was explaining more to me, and he explained that the bigger structure that's there is actually the generator, because you don't want the power to go out on a pump station. And then the tall, skinny thing, which I put some dimensions on there, is actually the electrical part of it. But the pumping, the sewage, I guess you'd say, is all underground. Part of it is under, there's a green 5-foot painted part, and you can see that kind of shiny part. And then there's a square green part. And he explained that it gets pumped from place to place, and then I don't really understand the rest of it. But I don't know whether this is something that Victor's ever looked into. It still is, I wouldn't say fairly large, but it's a lot smaller than what's up there at Lehigh Station near the park. So it was just something I wanted to share with you. I had never heard of that, and so it might be something to look into. And the only other thing, I felt that the overflow parking for 59 units seems to be, 14 overflow seem to be a little bit short of what could be really done. I know Drumlins 1 is not in the town, it's in the village, but they have 51 townhomes up there. I should have counted, but there are a whole lot more than 14 overflow parking. Thank you for your time, and I hope maybe that we can get some of the answers as far as the cost and the square footage, and perhaps even look into another idea for the pump stations. Thanks again.
Thank you, Marcia. Anyone else? Mr. Wright.
David Wright, 33 Ketchum Street. Also chairman of Victor Hiking Trails. Just for the record, it's Victor Hiking Trails Incorporated, not Victor Hiking Trails Association. So I just want to make that square. Also, did want to thank the developer for providing a pad for some future storage unit. Right now, we are renting a unit at $230 a month. And so I think this will be a big help for not only Victor Hiking Trails, but also for Parks and Recreation Department that also is looking for more space for their equipment. So I just wanted to thank them.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else this evening? As I said, the public hearing will remain open during the preliminary process here, and I think either now or in future meetings, we'll get more of that addressed that have been brought forward tonight, and certainly will be brought by the rest of the board. So, anyone else have any other comments before we advance the resolution?
Not tonight.
You want me to talk a little bit?
Go ahead.
All right.
I know Wes is dying to say something here.
I've been instructed to keep it short. I wanted to comment on the soils for this site, and we did provide a comment letter dated May 14th, 2024 on the preliminary subdivision application, where we did comment on the fill that was brought to the site between the years 2014 and 2016, and I believe there was some additional soils deposited there in 2023. I can't remember how long ago it was. The town of Victor was looking at 7200 Rawson Road for a potential location for a highway facility. Labella had conversations with Foundation Design a few years back when we were looking at that site, and the material that was deposited there are spoils from the New York State Route, from a project on New York State Route 96. And it was placed without compaction, and it consists of materials that could potentially be difficult to work with when it gets wet. And the reason why the town didn't move forward with this project site isn't solely because of the presence of soils that would need to be reworked on the site. So, for example, right, it's kind of stockpiled. The soil is kind of stockpiled in one particular location. It was intended to be condensed in one small area rather than spread across the entire site. So it would need to be moved. Some of it would need to be removed from its current location and dispersed elsewhere on the site to provide some additional fill in areas where fill is required. But there was also other factors that led to the town deciding not to move forward with that site, including the cost of programming because of the particular layouts that would be required given the configuration or the limitations and the dimensions of the site, the geometry of the layout of the building and the use of how the trucks would operate on the site, ingress and egress to the site. So there's some layout concerns, and also the potential that maybe the site wasn't quite large enough for the programming that the town was looking to do, and also the cost of the site. So it wasn't just because of this. I just wanted to reiterate that it's not just because of the soils. The soils were a minor element to the decision-making, but there was a lot more to the decision than just the soils that were placed there. And we feel that the soils, Labella would feel that provided that the soils are reworked on the site and compacted, we don't see any problem with using the soils that were deposited there. What else did I want to mention? Oh, with regard to the sanitary sewer pump station, we can look into that. I could provide some additional rationale. Susie, could you bring up my screen just real quick? I wanted to show an example of one of the Victor pump stations. I think this is an older image. So this is Pump Station 7 at the corner of East Victor Road and New York State Route 96. So my understanding is that there are different types of pump stations. Some have submersible pumps, some are suction lift pumps, and they have different maintenance requirements, and some are easier to work on depending on whether they're underground or above ground. So there are different factors that go into deciding what type of pump station is going to work best at a particular location, cost and maintenance requirements. So let me gather a little more information as to, what the decision might come down to, or what the benefits of one versus the other is. So this is just one example of something that looks a little bit similar to what Ms. Senja's handed out, minus a generator. I think the site might now have a generator, is that right? So, and what we're seeing here is an electrical panel, and the pump is actually, my understanding is below ground. So, I think that's all I have right now. I guess maybe I'll also comment on the lighting. I know lighting is a concern of the public. So what the applicant is proposing, my understanding, and we've asked for documentation of this, are full cutoff light fixtures that are dark sky compliant. And as the applicant mentioned, they're looking to have lighting on the site and at the intersections for safety purposes. And that is important. In one particular development that occurred here in the town of Victor, Silverton Glen, this was a few years back, it was very difficult for people driving at night to actually see the entrance to the Silverton Glen development. So the residents there asked to see if they could get an overhead Cobra type of light. And I think what we did, town engineer assisted the town of Victor in coordinating with whether it was DOT and the utility to actually put a light out overhead at the intersection of New York State Route 444, Maple Avenue, and Silverton Glen. So there are instances where lighting is beneficial because it's going to enhance pedestrian safety, it's going to enhance vehicle safety. So I don't think that should be overlooked. And as long as they're complying with the town's lighting code, which requires dark sky compliant light fixtures, I think that's a good thing for the community. So with that, I'll stop and let you guys move on for now.
Is that quick enough, Joe?
We're good.
All right. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot more to do with this application. Right now, I'm going to read through a resolution that will propose that the town planning board be lead agency, start that process. So with application 01 PS 2024, whereas on or about March 29th, 2024, the secretary of the Town of Victor Planning Board received a preliminary subdivision application entitled Bluestone Trail Subdivision, proposed at 7200 Rawson Road. And whereas it is the intent of Rawson Community LLC, the applicant, to develop 59 for-sale townhome units on an 18.5 acre parcel, and whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board preliminarily classifies the project as Type 1 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas the Planning Board, as an involved agency, has identified the following additional involved agencies and associated approvals, decisions for which lead agency coordination must be conducted: New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Department of Health, Village of Victor Department of Public Works, Town of Farmington Water and Sewer Department, Ontario County Planning Board, Monroe County Water Authority. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board intends to proceed with coordinated review as required for Type 1 actions, and a lead agency must be established prior to making a determination of significance. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Victor Planning Board declares its intent to act as lead agency and directs the Planning Board Secretary to mail the EAF with Part 1 completed by the project sponsor and a copy of the subdivision application to all identified involved and interested agencies, notifying them that a lead agency must be agreed upon within 30 calendar days of the date of the Environmental Assessment Form, EAF, was mailed to them, expressing the Town Planning Board's intent to act as lead agency. Notification will be sent to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Department of Health, Village of Victor Department of Public Works, Town of Farmington Water and Sewer Department, Ontario County Planning Board, Planning Department, and the Monroe County Water Authority. Town of Victor Town Board and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will also be notified of the pending application as interested agencies. So, on that resolution, do I hear a motion?
A move.
Ernie moves.
Second.
Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. That's our agenda for this evening, with the exception of one item. That would be the date of the planning board meeting at the end of June.
So, Yeah, so June 25th, Tuesday, is available now for us to have the planning board meeting here. Or if you wish to keep it June 26th on Wednesday. I just need to know to let future applicants know.
Currently, it's advertised as Wednesday, correct? Or it's on the
Yep,
schedule?
on our schedule.
And we could change it if we make a notice,
Yep.
or we
I
can leave it
have-
alone.
Yep, I have plenty of time, and the applicants who are scheduled for that meeting are flexible either way. I just need to let them know.
So I'll leave it to you guys, because I can't be here for that meeting, so it's your pleasure.
I'm indifferent, so if anybody else has a preference, I can be flexible.
I didn't hear what dates you were talking about.
Just the end, the second meeting in June, the 26th, is it?
Yep, Tuesday the 25th, Wednesday the 26th.
So right now, it's on the 26th as,
25th, 26th, either one's fine.
okay, so we can leave it where it is? You guys okay with it?
Okay with me.
Amy, yeah, fine.
All right, we'll just leave it where it is. I think Alexis said she could come on the 26th, but not the 25th, so you get to come to our meeting.
All right, so we'll leave it for the 26th.
So that's all I had. Anybody want to
Thank you.
Move
go
to
home?
adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody says aye.
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 Have a great rest of your week.